2 children dead, their mother hospitalized at Memorial Hermann Hospital. It's a tough one. That's where we begin this morning with the bodies of 2 children, both under the age of 5. Their bodies were discovered in northwest Harris County off of Sandy Path Lane. Their mother is accused of killing them. Fox 26's Ford Atkinson has been following this story for us all morning long. Ford, what have you learned about the mother?
Well, Melissa, neighbors described the mother as very, very low-key and not very outgoing, although she did talk to them on occasion when she was coming and going from her house. Harris County investigators say Rebecca Sanders killed her 2 young children yesterday evening. The kids have now been identified as a young boy just 3 years old, Gabriel Sanders, and a young girl, 5 years old, Gabrielle Wood. They say the mother then shot herself in the head and is believed to be still in grave condition at Memorial Hermann Hospital. Now, we talked with a man who lives next door to the mother and a woman who lives right across the street. They say she moved in about a month ago.
She was a real quiet individual, and you know, we kind of, in passing, would say hello and say, hi, how are you doing? How's everything going? You know, kind of just that. That was it. Nothing more than that.
They were just very, very quiet. There was no really, I mean, they never were out in the front, or just as they were coming and going is all I saw of them.
Now, the medical examiner's office will determine the cause of death of those 2 young children. Melissa, the mother said to be quiet, unassuming, no indication whatsoever, neighbors say, that something like this could happen.
And again, Ford, the mom is not doing well either. She's in the hospital still?
Memorial Hermann Hospital, we have not received a report from the Sheriff's Department since last night as to her condition, but last night they said she was in grave condition. One report indicated they didn't believe she would make it, but that's the last we heard.
Okay, we'll see if we can get an update on that as well. Thank you, Ford. This is just a tragic story, and unfortunately, it's not the first time a mother has been accused of killing her children. Susan Smith and Andrea Yates are just some of the names synonymous with cases that ended in tragedy. Legal analyst Chris Tritico is live in our newsroom this morning to talk a little more about this. Good morning to you, Chris.
Good morning.
Let's talk about the legal consequences of this alleged crime. Obviously, this mom, it sounds like at least last night, in grave condition, so she might not make it. But if she did, what are we talking about?
Well, in Texas, if you kill a child under the age of 6, then that's a capital murder, and that's what this is being investigated as. And so if she recovers and if she's competent to stand trial, which are 2, I think, very iffy questions right now, then she could be tried for capital murder, and the state could seek the death penalty.
Chris, in a lot of cases like this, we usually see the defense going for a mental illness. In this case, would you expect for that to happen if this mom does survive?
There's actually 2 mental illness issues to look at in this case. First is, was she competent at the time of the offense? In other words, was she sane at the time she shot her children and herself? If the state can make that burden, then we have to see if she's ever going to recover enough from this brain injury to ever be tried, because she's probably not going to be competent to stand trial. And that's really the major issue I see, the major hurdle for the state here is, can she be made competent to stand trial?
In terrible situations like this, I think it's so important, Chris, for our community to try to learn something from this situation. We hear neighbors often saying, as they did in this case, it was a very quiet family, perhaps they were withdrawn. If family members have any suspicions at all that there might be some problems in the family, do you suggest that people try to get some help for them? Because you just never know when something like this can happen.
Absolutely. Mental illness is one of the areas that we in the state of Texas have dropped to the very bottom of the heap in ways that we help people. And if you have a family member or if you have a friend that you suspect is suffering from a mental illness, it is incumbent upon you to get that person to get some help immediately. We don't understand how the brain works, but we see the end result when the brain is malfunctioning. And if we can just get people to some help quickly, we might be able to stop some of these things from happening. But you got to put away your prejudices about mental illness and bring it out to the open and get those people some help.
I think in so many situations like this, Chris, people think that would always happen to somebody else's family, not mine. Depression couldn't lead to that. Again, we don't know that depression or any type of mental illness is concerning this case. We will certainly keep looking into it. And, Chris, we certainly appreciate your expertise, as always. Thanks for joining us this morning to talk about a very serious situation.